ready. Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live.
Way to go, baby!
From Dallas, Texas.
No puppies, I need a dog to make a play.
Presented by Knockout Sports Bar.
It's time for football.
It's Paco's Locker Room Talk.
What a day, what a day, what a day.
What a day, what a day, what a day. Guys, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to introduce Angelo King here to my left, linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. And then to my far left, Timmy Newsome, running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Guys, I just want to say thank you for coming out. I mean, I know it takes away from your time, from the family, but I really do appreciate you guys coming out. I want you to feel at home. Anything and everything you want to talk about, it's open mic, gentlemen.
All right, well,
okay?
you're more than welcome.
Yes,
Open
thank you.
mic.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yes.
Open mic. We're going to start off with Timmy. Timmy, where originally are you from and going to high school?
I'm from Ahoskie, North Carolina.
Okay.
Born and raised, and went to Ahoskie High School. Played football, basketball, and baseball there.
Okay. And then you were, did you get a full scholarship or did you go?
Yes, in fact, I only had one scholarship offer, and that was at Winston-Salem State University. So it wasn't like I was a highly touted student athlete coming out of high school. So that was my only choice, and that's where I ended up.
Okay. And you said Salem-Winston?
Winston-Salem State University.
Did Monty Hunter go there?
Nope.
No.
No.
Clinksdale, did he go?
Nope, he went to South Carolina State.
somebody-
South Carolina
He went
State.
there with Angelo.
Yes.
So you were the only Cowboy to come out of there because I guess
Yes. Mhm.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
And
The only
even-
claim to fame before I arrived, it was Earl to Pearl Monroe.
Okay.
That's where he played his basketball.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I do remember you were a lot bigger than your average running back.
Yes. In fact, it's funny because when I entered college back in 1976, I was 6'2", 180 pounds.
Wow.
And when I graduated from Winston-Salem State, I was 6'2" and 240.
240.
Yeah.
Wow. And you still had the speed.
Still had the speed. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. That's the first thing I noticed because I remembered, well, obviously, when you lined up behind Robert Newhouse, you were just like,
Yeah.
you were huge. And I thought, shouldn't that be the other way around? The big guy in front, the smaller guy behind.
Well, what's also funny is, when I was at Winston-Salem State, I was not a fullback. I was a tailback. And I hadn't blocked anybody, but yet I was rated one of the top 5 fullbacks in the country coming out of college.
Really?
And I would go to my coach. I said, Coach, they're projecting me to play fullback. I said, I don't block anybody. He said, I know, but you need to get your foot in the door, and this is the way to do it. And so because we didn't play on TV in a Division II school,
Right.
people would look at the size and just say, well, he's a fullback. But yet they looked at my yards, and I piled up a lot of yards, but they just didn't know how.
Wow.
So, it was kind of funny to be rated so high for a position I never played.
Wow. And Angelo, where did you grow up?
Well, I'm from the great state of South Carolina.
Okay.
And Columbia, to be exact, is my hometown. I went to Columbia High there, smack dab in the city.
Okay.
Right downtown, believe it or not. And I ended up going to South Carolina State College. Wasn't given any scholarship. As a matter of fact, I walked on, and the rest is history.
Okay. So
yeah.
you walked on as a linebacker, or
Yes.
or did they turn you into
Yes,
linebacker?
I walked on as a linebacker. I pretty much played linebacker all of my life. I tried running back and offensive guard. You know how they
Yeah.
do you. If you're a pretty good athlete, they try to move you around. Defensive tackle. But I came to the realization that if anybody was going to do any hitting,
Yeah.
it was going to be me hitting somebody else. So
You weren't gonna be the hittee. you were gonna be the hitter.
No. So that was my mentality.
Okay.
Yes.
And guys, this goes for both of you guys. How do you end up at the Cowboys?
Well, it's funny because I was projected to get drafted anywhere between 2 to 4 coming out of Winston-Salem State University, and never thinking that they were going to draft me. There were a few teams that were interested. Kansas City was a team that was interested. San Francisco 49 showed 49ers showed some interest, the Pittsburgh Steelers showed some interest, and the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
And so when I slipped out of the 4th round, the 5th round, and then was drafted in the 6th, I was surprised that Dallas decided to take me in the 6th round. I was shocked, but I was happy.
Were you a Cowboy fan growing up, or did you even know?
I wasn't until they started sending me centerfolds of the cheerleaders.
Okay. Well,
I said, okay, this is where I want to go.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story, Paco. I never really thought about playing professional football. I can remember as a little boy, I was a pretty good athlete, and my family had all athletes pretty much. And my daddy, I can remember him calling me, say, boy, come over here and tell these boys what you gonna be. He bragging on me, So I walked up to him and I told him, I'm gonna be a cowboy. But when I looked back at it, I didn't know what I was saying.
Right.
But I was talking about the cowboy that was riding the horse, not the cowboy.
Oh, a real cowboy.
That actually wears the helmet. So,
right.
like I said, I didn't have any dreams of playing professional football or even going to college, to be honest with you. I decided that, hey, if I was going to do this, I was going to be the best that I could be. And even while I was there, I didn't have any plans of going. But then when I saw other guys being drafted,
Right.
that I knew I was better than, and I was like, hey, man, maybe if I kind of, work at this thing, I might be pretty good and drafted too. So I did maybe around my junior year, started looking forward to maybe playing professional football. But of course, I wasn't drafted.
Right.
I wasn't like Timmy here, I was being fed cornbread and rice, steaks, 2 pieces of chicken and bread and an orange on Sundays, He don't know nothing about that.
Not nothing.
Yeah, so, again, not drafted. I always had the feeling that if you shoot for the moon and you miss,
Right.
you'll land among the stars.
That's right.
So
that's
that's pretty much how my life had been going, and it's still going today. But now I'm a little older and a little wiser, knowing that it wasn't all about me and what I was doing. It was more of the grace of God on my life.
Right.
And that's what I'm here to talk about too, is that, hey, without the Lord on my side, there's no way I could have made half of the things that I have accomplished so far.
And I think that goes for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know that a lot of people will admit that, and a lot of people don't like bringing religion to the show or even in conversation. But I think through God, a lot of things are done.
Yes, sir.
But Timmy, so you come with the Cowboys. What year did you come in?
1980.
Okay, and Angelo?
I came in 1981, class of 81.
81, okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys come in, y'all were at we call it the barn over on Forest Lane. It's just a little tin, it's like a little tin. And I mean, did they separate the guys, or how was the locker room set up there?
Well, I mean, first of all, I was shocked to see that kind of a facility for a team that had gone to 5 Super Bowls.
Yes.
And so I'm walking in there and I said, oh, man, how do these guys win all these football games with this facility?
Right.
And so you get used to it and you just realize it's just a shell of what it is, and you don't think about the amenities that you don't have. You just go out and play the game.
Right.
And so that was the way I looked at it personally. And then coming from an HBCU, historically black college, we didn't have a whole lot of amenities either. So I was kind of used to the environment.
Yeah, you were used to it already. You, Angelo?
Well, I was kind of totally the opposite. I went to historical black college and university as well, but we didn't have all of those amenities. So to me, I was in heaven. You know, when you have your locker room up under the stadium steps,
Right.
You know, and really no weight room and all that kind of stuff that these guys got, man. When I got there, I was saying, hey. So this is what it's all about. You know?
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, I'm liking this, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I ain't got to bring my own equipment and all that. I was like, hey, I'm okay.
What about, did you guys, were you ever on a plane, or did y'all do everything by bus in college?
Man, the first time I got on a plane was when we flew to New York, and I was scared to death. I was scared to death, man.
Never been on a plane before?
Never been on a plane in my life.
Wow.
Again, sports
Wow.
gave me that advantage.
Wow.
Yes.
Timmy?
Well, we were playing in the semifinals of the NCAA Division II playoffs, and we had to fly up to Delaware to play the Delaware Blue Hens, and that was my first experience on an airplane.
Wow.
And that happened my junior year in college.
Did they serve y'all anything, or they just?
Well, they served us a basic meal.
Okay.
We actually chartered the plane, so it was just football players on that particular flight. And fortunately, it was a very smooth ride and a calm day, so I didn't get too nervous.
Okay. I mean, I can't relate as far as college, but I can relate as far as working with the team for so long, because when I first started with the Hoopsters, man, we had to drive to the games in our own cars, you know, and they were paying us $1,200 for 10 players and myself to help out. And then, and I've told people this before, we started winning Super Bowls, and you got 5 players for $125,000. And we were going from driving in our own cars to Lear jets, private Lear jets. So a big difference when you start winning.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
you know?
Yes, it makes
It's a
all the
big
difference in the
difference.
world.
But and then getting back to the Cowboys, you guys always played under Tom Landry, correct?
That's right.
Yes.
That was the only coach. And
Yes.
who was your running back coach back then?
Al Levan.
Okay, and didn't he went to the 49ers after that,
Yes,
correct?
he left in '89 to go to the 49ers, and he actually won a Super Bowl with them.
Wow.
One of those Super Bowl teams, and then he left there and became the head coach at Delaware State
Really?
for a number of years.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. And who was your coach?
My coach was Coach Jerry Tubbs.
Yes, I remember.
He's gone on now to be with the Lord.
Yes.
But I always used to tell Coach Tubbs that he liked Michael Hagman more than he liked me. That's
Oh,
why
really?
He didn't let me play.
Oh yeah.
I remember old Hagman, 58.
Yeah,
Yes.
Michael Hagman.
Where's he at now?
I believe he's in Tennessee somewhere,
Okay.
man. I ask about him all the time if I see Ed or one of the guys that played down there at Tennessee State. I ask about him, but
Okay.
I hope he's doing well, Mike. So if you're listening, bro, I'm just hollering at you, man.
There we go.
Just
There we
hollering
go.
at you.
Timmy, are there any players that you visit with or have business with that from the teams that you played with?
Not so much business, but I still see James Jones. He and I room together on the road,
Yes.
so I see him quite often.
He's in Atlanta, isn't he?
Well, he lives here.
Oh, he lives
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, he lives here. He does very well. He works for a company called McAfee. It's a antivirus company.
Oh, wow.
And so he does that. So I see him quite often. Drew Pearson, I was on his television show
Yes.
a few months ago.
Right.
So I see some of the guys when we do official things with the Cowboys, and so I'll run into them and see them in that way. So.
Okay. Angelo, do you see Remedy?
Yes, I pretty much see some of the guys that I played with. Everson, Walls, Mike Downs, of course, Newsom, Ed,
You know what?
Drew.
There for a while, I was seeing Ed out of town, but never in Dallas. I'd be traveling with the Hoopsters, and there goes Ed. We'd be in Mexico, there goes Ed.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't ever see him in Dallas, but we'd see him somewhere out of town. Vegas.
But see, Angelo has a huge advantage over me. He's a golfer.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's an avid golfer.
I try to be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
So
that's
he'll
where
see
you
a lot
see
of the guys
Yeah, you see a
golfing.
lot of the guys
Yes,
on the course.
Yes. But I want to give you some kudos too, and we kind of hit on it a little earlier, was that I appreciate you inviting me here tonight. See, a lot of times, like I was saying to Newsom, is that, you know, you can easily get lost.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that if you don't have the Super Bowl rings, you know, people try to put you in different boxes.
Right.
You know, if you're a Hall of Famer, you here. If you're a Super Bowl winner, you here.
Right.
And that kind of make you feel kind of some kind of way
No,
when you don't have that hardware. And it kind of had me to where I really didn't want to be around. I was feeling some kind of way. But then I came to my senses.
Right.
You know, I had a part to do with some of this stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I may not have the hardware,
Right.
but, you know, I'm still part of the team. And when you look at all these guys that didn't make the NFL, you still somebody.
That's right.
So you got to get out there, man, and just let them know that you still kicking.
Hey, you were ex-cowboy and always a former
Yes, sir.
cowboy. You know,
Yes,
I mean, no
sir.
one can ever take that away from you.
That's right.
You know,
That's
and
right.
a lot of people are like, you know, sometimes I'll put events on and they're like, well, you don't have any big names. You know, you got a bunch of guys that didn't even start. I'm like, a lot of those guys did start. You're not a real Cowboy fan. You know, you're just
Yeah.
looking at number 33 and number 12.
Yes.
You're not looking at who the starting linebackers were or who the running backs were, you know. I mean, there's a big difference,
Yes.
you know, and I try and include everyone because I want everybody to be treated the same.
Well, you're doing
You know
good.
what I'm saying? I mean,
You're doing good.
I'd like to be, well, I guess what you say, cool with everyone.
Yeah.
But guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk some more Cowboys in just a minute. So let's go to break real quick.
All right.
And we're going to talk about Knockout Sports Bar. I don't know if you guys have heard of this place. They've got like 5 locations in Dallas. It used to be boxing and MMA, but they're really trying to stick with boxing now. The last event we did, which was last Saturday, a couple Saturdays ago, we put on a fight over at Mesquite Rodeo. You see the guy there, Dubwaski. And that turned out real well. And we are building a $7 million venue 4 blocks from Cowboy Stadium.
Man.
And it's going to have a boxing ring in there.
That's awesome.
Yes, and we've
So
got.
did you have a box?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. Shoot, my whole family. We didn't have a choice.
Okay.
You know, we had to fight. You know, but if you ever get a chance, man, go out to Knockout Sports Bar. They got great. Of course, there's a lot of eye candy there also. You know, but enjoy the food. You know, the wings are really good. They're really really good, and they've got all kinds of televisions and things of that nature. But yeah, if you guys ever get a chance, go out to Knockout
Okay.
Sports Bar.
Knockout Sports Bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as a matter of fact, there's one out in Addison, and which brings up my next question. I don't know if you guys want to touch on it or not, but any memories of Ed's parties back in the day?
Well, I've only heard about them. I-
Well, that's between me and the Lord.
Okay. Then we're gonna leave it right there.
yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Well,
Okay.
It was always a good time.
There we go.
Always a good time.
All I know, I remember Ed telling me, anybody can come to my party between or up to 7 p.m. After 7 p.m., if you don't tell them to go, Paco, I'm going to go up and tell them, ma'am, you got to take your kids and you got to go. After 7 p.m. is a different party. You know what I'm
Yes, indeed.
saying?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, Lord.
Tell me, Angelo, you got any stories in the huddle with Ed? Because I mean, I had one guy come up and tell me, he said, "Man, I thought Ed hated me," and I said, "Why do you think that?" And he says, "Hell, he didn't talk to me for 2 years until one day he got pissed off in the huddle and he said something to me." But but that's just Ed. Ed don't talk to very many people.
right.
You know? He's real quiet.
Well, you know, I mean, he treated me the same way, but Ed was always very encouraging to me until this day. You know, and I tried to tell him I appreciate that. You know, that he didn't make me feel less than anybody else.
Right. The other player.
And, Ed was never like a weightlifter. You could see Ed with his back on the wall and he got a 20-pound dumbbell, But he was just so, naturally strong and gifted. Man, I've never seen anything like that.
Wow.
And he could move.
Yeah.
And then when he went into boxing and
Yes,
and
he did
doing
that
all-
for a year.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's doing all this other stuff. So he's one of my favorite Cowboys.
Well,
so.
what'd y'all think of that, honestly, when y'all first heard that Ed was leaving football to box? Did y'all believe it?
Well, I was at Winston-Salem State University, and so his leaving was a blow to not only the Cowboys, but to a lot of people who respected his game on the football field.
Yeah.
But when I came back in 1980, he was coming back to the Cowboys, so it was great to see him back in the football. And he got a lot of ribbon by the guys about being out and being knocked out by a shorter guy and a lighter guy and all that stuff.
Man, if Ron Springs would have been here today, he would have had you, Paco, falling out the
You know
chair
what?
like Ed,
Everson Wall
man.
said the same thing.
Man, he was like, Ed, no, Ed, get up, Ed. No, you know how Ron was, man. I miss my friend, man.
Yes, it did.
I miss.
Can we categorize Ron as the not the class clown, but the locker room clown? He was always joking or always cutting up. You know what I'm saying? Always had something funny to say, or
I would describe Ron as a comedic prophet.
Yes.
That was the best way to describe Ron. He was ingenious in his delivery of things that made us all laugh.
yeah.
There was one story that when Randy White was holding out, and Tex Schramm was walking between us to go to the podium to have an announcement for us.
Right.
And guys were saying, "Where's Randy? Where's Randy? Where's Randy?" And Tex Schramm says, "Well, I don't know. I'm trying to find him myself." And Ron kind of just blurted out, "Well, $1 million will find him." So, Ron was just that kind of guy. He had that kind of character.
Yes. Had a huge chest too.
Oh, yeah.
Huge chest, man.
Man, and it's nothing that he wouldn't give you, Paco.
Really?
If you were his friend,
Yeah.
he would give you the shirt off his back, man.
Yeah.
Literally.
Right.
He was like, to me, he was sly as a fox. Mm-hmm. He knew all the right things to say to calm down the situation.
Right.
A lot of people, I believe his dad was a pastor.
Really?
See,
I didn't know
a
that.
lot of folks didn't know that Ron, he was raised up in the church.
Wow.
So he had that going on. But then when you live in this life, and he came here, man, used to starting. Now all of a sudden, you behind a door set.
Yeah.
And in order for you to get on the field, you got to switch positions. Now you're a fullback.
Yeah.
But
I remember
hey,
that.
man, he was great.
Yes.
A lot of talent,
Yes.
man.
And,
a lot of talent.
I competed against him because when they switched him to fullback was where they wanted me to play. And he was very encouraging. There was never any animosity about, us playing that position together. And so he was always very helpful.
Did Coach Levan tell you, like you said, you were a tailback? Mm-hmm. Did Coach Levan say, "Look, you're a big body. We need somebody like you to create a hole"?
Well, they knew that I had the size to play that position. Whether or not I had a desire was another question. Mm-hmm. And so they had to kind of instill in me the desire to play the position. Now, I faltered at it a little bit, so they kind of moved me back to tailback just to see if I could still run the football. And when they found that I could run the football, they said, "Okay, well, fine. We know you can do this, but we still want you to play fullback because
Right.
Tony Dorsett's not going anywhere.
Right.
And you're not going to beat him out."
Right.
So playing fullback was going to be my next best opportunity to really get some meaningful playing time. But it was hard to get into the game with Ron and Tony both on the roster at the same time.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about training camp, because we totally skipped over that. I mean, there's no comparison now that the guys that play ball now, and of course the money is just outrageous.
Yes.
But you would think with the money that they get paid, and I'm not hating on a player. I always want the
Right.
player to get what he can get. Let's get that straight. I'm happy for you guys, you know, but for the money they get now, they ought to put in real two-a-days, and they ought to go in pads 2 to 3 times a week. You know, at least 2 times a week. And right now they go 1 time a week in pads.
But, you know, the money is the reason they're not doing it. You don't want to take a guy who you just gave $30 million to getting hurt in training camp.
Yeah.
When I played, they didn't care because the money wasn't there. So we could scrimmage probably every day, and we did. We'd go short yardage and goal line scrimmage almost every day.
Wow.
And so, but the salaries weren't that great. Now, there would be no way that one roster could have me, Robert Newhouse, Ron Springs, James Jones, Herschel Walker, you know, all of those guys on that same roster. It just couldn't happen in this day and age,
Right.
because of the money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I see Herschel around every once in a while. I don't know. Do you guys run into him? You know, he remarried with his wife, Cindy.
I did not know that.
Yes.
I didn't.
Yeah. And they, I want to say they even moved back to Las Colinas because
Really?
he was living in downtown Dallas while he was divorced.
Right.
And he ended up getting back with Cindy, which I'm glad, you know. I mean, I guess it was something that needed to happen. And I believe they moved back to Las Colinas.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still living here.
Well, that's
Good
new.
for him.
Still living here.
That's nice.
Yeah. But heck, I got a quick story about Herschel. The first day he moved to Dallas, Adidas, you know, he was signed with Adidas. They threw a big VIP party for him. And I don't know how the hell I got in there, but I know how it was. The guy, James Jennings, who was the Adidas rep.
I remember him.
You remember him?
Yeah.
Big, tall. My brother was boxing at that time, and my brother he'd made it to the '84 Olympic trials, so he used to wear Adidas product all the time. That's who supplied the Olympic team, and that's how I met James Jennings. He said, "Hey, you like football, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Man, I'm having a VIP party for Herschel Walker. Why don't you come on out?" And I'll be damned, man. I mean, I still have that picture at home of Herschel, Cindy, myself, and James Jennings, man. The first day he was here, man. That's how long. And then Herschel came back to us, fast forward, in 97, I think it was. He came back to us, and I was
That's
still
right.
there. I was still there at the Cowboys. Yeah.
Yeah, because he had traveled from Minnesota to New York Giants and then Philadelphia, and he ended his career here.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure did. Yeah. And still in shape.
Oh, yeah.
Still in shape. I'm surprised he never became an FBI agent the way he wanted to. You know, that was one of his goals. But he fought MMA one time. I don't know if y'all saw that on TV.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a Too Tall Jones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, what was your training camp? I know that there was plenty of fights. What were one of your most memorable fights at training
Well,
camp?
Eugene Lockhart and I used to fight all the time.
Really?
Yes, all the time.
I didn't know that.
All the time.
Really?
We fought a lot. He was a middle linebacker, and I was fullback, and we'd have isolation blocks. And, of course, if you got the best of Eugene, it wasn't like he was going to let it go.
Yes.
And so, but it was over once we left the football field. Nice guy off the football field, but on it, he was like a man possessed. So we fought a lot.
And what about you?
Well, I really don't have a favorite fight that I was in. You know, I was really trying to keep my job.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a free agent
Yeah.
and undrafted, you know, there's certain things that you can't do.
Right.
So, you know, like I tell people all the time, right now, today, Paco,
Yeah.
no one has ever officially told me that I made the team. I just showed up every day, got dressed out, and just prayed that, you know, they just left me alone. Even when they traded me to Detroit, I was like, oh, they done found out now. You know, I've been exposed. I just show up to work, man. I'm serious. Nobody has ever told me, Angelo, welcome. You officially made the team. I just showed up, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
7 years on the bubble.
Yeah.
And so when you left, there was a big difference as far as playing on those two teams. because you played for America's team, and then the Lions. They,
Boy.
they really never
Hey.
won anything.
Well, let me tell you this. I was notified Sunday night. We had just played Houston Oilers, and I had sacked Warren Moon, had about maybe 6-7 tackles, and a fumble recovery. So, I'm thinking to myself after the game was over, I got me one more week.
Right.
So, of course, we went out on the town, came back in that night, went to my room, and the red light was on. So, that was an indication that you need to call down to the office and you have a message. So I called down there, and the guy said, well, you need to call Coach Landry. I guess it's about maybe no later than 10 or so. Mm-hmm. So I called Coach Landry. I said, yeah, Coach, what's going on? He said, Angelo, he said, you've been traded. I said, traded where? He said, you've been traded to Detroit. I said, now, this is Sunday night now. I said,
After
well,
the
when
game.
do I, yeah. I said, when do I leave? He said, your flight leaves 6 in the morning. I'm like, no money in my pocket. I'm living in a condominium. So, just by the saving grace of God, my brother was here. So I found him, had him to come home, and I'm packing stuff, and I'm out of here. So
Wow.
I arrived at the airport in Detroit, and nobody's there to pick me up.
Wow.
I'm waiting around. Nobody. So I finally called and said, hey, y'all, I'm here. Well, we'll tell you what, just catch a cab. We'll pay for it. So I got a cab, and the cab driver said, hey, man, said, what, is this your first time in Detroit? I said, yeah. He said, you want to see the city? I said, I don't care. I ain't paying for it. So he drove me all around the city. By the time we got there, I told him, go on inside and get your money. So, I'm thinking, hey, man, I just got traded. I'm in a new town, and I saw the guys was up hill practicing. So I'm thinking, I ain't got to dress out and do all that stuff,
Right.
surely. Man, they told me to go on downstairs, get dressed out, and meet us up on the
Practice field.
field stairs, right? So I said, okay, I'm dressed up, I'm walking. You know how they looking at you like, yeah, who this joker think he is, right here, So, I'm on the sideline. Then all of a sudden, I hear something, King, get in there. So I'm saying, to myself, get in where? Do what?
What position?
Yeah, so I just gave it
Weak,
that.
strong.
And I tell you right now today, I followed that ball, and wherever that ball was, Paco, I was there. And the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
and
man.
you changed numbers over there, right? You went to
Yeah.
92?
Well, yeah. Well, the system is that if you got a guy that has your number, and he is more senior than you are,
Right.
then he gets to keep the number, but he can sell you his number
Right.
at a reasonable price.
Right.
So when I got here, I think that was Bruce
Other.
Huther.
Yeah.
He was nice enough, man, to say, he didn't have no problems with it, gave me his number, but when I got up there, this guy named Ken Fantetti, used to call him the Sandman. Because he'll put you to sleep when he hits you, And he was like, nah, bruh, no, I can't give you my number. So they had 92 available. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, Timmy, we're going to follow up with you in just a minute. We're going to go to commercial. We're about halfway through the show. So let's take a quick break for about a minute or two, and then we'll be right back. And we're going to hear Timmy's adventure with the Cowboys.
Great.
Take a quick break.
This is Jesse A. Montoya, raised on the streets of West Dallas. Started boxing in the late 1950s, making a promise to his mother that he would move her out of the poverty-stricken area. As a kid, Jesse would be one of the first in the state of Texas to compete against other African-American kids during the lift of segregation and the beginning of the civil rights movement. 60 years have passed and Jesse continues to be a part of the sport. His passion for boxing has allowed him to serve as a trainer, a coach, a mentor, and a community leader, working with both amateur and professional fighters. Jesse has literally mentored generations of young fighters since the 1970s. He is recognized as one of the first Hispanic coaches in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, while pioneering the first inner-city amateur boxing program that has awarded him and the boxing gym that carries his namesake with numerous team trophies. Throughout the years, Jesse and his staff, that includes his sons Anthony and Michael, have trained many successful boxers, a program acknowledged by USA Boxing. This is Jesse A. Montoya of Montoya Boxing, a pillar of amateur boxing in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah, Angelo, you had asked Timmy if he watched much boxing. You know, I invite him all the time, and he would always decline, but he never said why. And then finally he sent me a message one time. He says, bro, I don't like boxing. I don't follow boxing. I was like, oh, okay. Well, if you'd have told me that 30 times ago, I would have never sent that message to you.
That's true.
Well, you know, I'm in the same box too now, so let's just be real.
You don't like boxing either?
Well, no, you invited me to come a lot of
Oh,
times.
no,
and
no,
I just,
but-
don't
I just,
have the time, but
Yeah.
you got to make the time.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
So I promise you that I will make one or two of them.
okay, no problem,
Yes,
no
sir.
problem. So, Timmy, let's talk about your, you started with the Cowboys and then you ended your whole career there?
Yes. I started with the Cowboys. I ended it with the Cowboys. When Jimmy and Jerry came on in '89,
89, yes.
there was somewhat of a youth movement, and they had already decided to retire a lot of guys. Randy White, Danny Wright, Doug Cosby left. They had traded Steve DiAssi to New York. Jeff Roy, they let go. A lot of guys. I mean, they just cleaned
Michael
the roster.
Downs.
Michael Downs
Yeah.
was let go. And so I went through 2 preseason games, and then they released me. But there was kind of a twist. A few games into the season, they traded Herschel to Minnesota.
Right.
And about 3 or 4 games after that, the general manager for Minnesota called and asked me if I would come up there and take a physical. They said, well, if you pass the physical, we'll sign you. He said, Herschel spoke very highly of you, and we just thought that maybe you'd want to play some more football. But at the time, I was working in technology. I was a computer programmer, and I just told him my career was over and I didn't really want to play anymore.
Really?
He said,
Wow.
are you sure? I said, I'm positive. He said, are you really sure and positive? I said, yeah, I'm sure and positive. And so I just decided not to go up.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so the technology, was that something that you've always been good at or has always had your interest? Or how
Well,
did you-
it's what I did in the off season.
Oh, okay.
And
So,
I was already in technology. Every off season, I would work for a company that sold computer software to banks. And so when they released me, I just went back to work and worked for that same company.
Wow.
And so I was already entrenched in a project in Chicago. And so I really didn't want to leave it. And like I said before, the money wasn't that great in those days for me to entice me enough to get back into football.
Right.
And so I just decided to call it a career, and that's how I ended it.
Wow. How many years did you play?
Played 9 years,
9.
and I was working on my 10th season.
Wow. And you, Angela, how many years did you play in the
I
league?
played 7, man.
7?
I was blessed enough to play 7. And then when I got tired of it, you know, Detroit was actually the first team that I was ever on that was a losing team. All my life, I had been a winner. But when I got to Detroit, man, I was like, Lord, have mercy. You know, it's cold and I'm losing.
Yeah.
You know, that was, you know, I was ready to go.
Who was your running back then?
Billy Sims. I played with
Really?
Billy Sims
Okay.
1 year, and then they had a few other guys.
your quarterback back then?
We had Eric Hipple.
Yes, I remember
and,
him. Yes.
Gary Danielson.
That's right.
They had quite a few to come through there. But after, you know, I've said, hey, man, I'm ready to go. So I left. I started my career with Dallas County Juvenile Detention Center, but I had always been going there in the off season, volunteering to help these kids. And then I was like, man, well, maybe this is something I love doing. Maybe it's something I want to do. So I went there in 87 after I left, and I put in almost 23 years.
Wow.
So I retired from there, and now I'm working security out here in South Lake for TD Ameritrade, and I'm a licensed minister as well. So I became licensed, and I believe that was 2009. So I, enjoy spreading the word.
So when you were working at the juvenile detention center, that was when it was on Harry Hines, correct?
Yes.
And you worked with Ben Wise there,
Yes.
you said, for a little bit?
Yes, I worked with Wise pretty much all of my years there.
Wow.
A good dude, man, a good guy.
He now works security for the Mavericks.
Okay,
He does, he's the head guy for all security
Yeah.
for American Airlines.
Yes.
You catch him there all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, his daughter, I met his daughter, and when she told me, yeah, my dad's Ben Wise, I couldn't believe that.
Okay.
But that's when SMU, back in the 80s, man, they were the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Lance McElhaney, Eric
Yeah.
Dickerson, Craig James, those guys,
Yeah.
Wes Hopkins. They had a squad back then.
Yeah.
But and so, Timmy, tell us a little bit more about the company you're with now. I mean, do you travel a lot, or do you do a lot at home, or what?
Well, I don't travel too much, but I do some of it. But what we do now is we sell voice over IP products, or unified communications and collaboration products and services. And so we go into businesses and set up telephone systems, and we integrate it with software. And so when someone needs that type of technology, we do that configuration for them.
Okay. Are you actually one of the on-site salesmen? Or are you just the PR guy? Or you're a former Dallas
to all
Cowboy.
of those questions, yeah.
So you do all the above then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're a small business. We only have 7 employees, so you kind of have to wear different hats.
Okay.
But my core strength is in software development. So I've always been a software-oriented type of company. And so that's pretty much what we do with the telephone systems, and we just integrate that software into that.
When you go out to these different businesses, do any of them ever say, man, you sure do look familiar? Or as big as you are, you had to play the sport or something?
The number one question I get is, how does someone who played professional football get into the computer business?
Yeah.
That's the thing that most people ask me about more than anything else. They just don't think that, if I played football, then I certainly couldn't have been able to do anything else.
Right.
I said, well, I did go to class in college, and I majored in it. So I just kind of explained to them how my maturation started when I came here. Because in those days, football players didn't make a great deal of money.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of guys that had off-season jobs. And I was just one of the guys that had an off-season job, and it just happened to be technology.
See, and I never knew, as much as I was around you guys, I never knew that you weren't the technology during the off season.
Right.
I just thought you were one of those guys that just kind of to yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I was with the guys like the Eugene Lockharts and the Michael Downs and
Right.
and we were the Hoopsters, and we were traveling almost every weekend playing charity basketball games. So we traveled around the world a lot. But the Mark II and A's, remember them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Brian Baldinger, look at
Yeah.
Baldy. He's now with the NFL Network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Badfinger and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian and I used to go to Vegas every year and participate in an arm wrestling tournament.
Really?
Yeah. We did that 5 or 6 years in a row.
Really? Did
Yeah.
you guys win anything?
No. It was a week-long experience, and so we'd lose early and then play the rest of the time there.
Little trivia, do you know what Baldy was doing once he got out of the league?
I have no idea.
When he left the Eagles? He was a collector.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He went around and kind of like what Balboa did in the movie Rocky Balboa. If you didn't pay up, you had to break something.
I did not know that.
Yes. I asked him about that, and he's like, I don't really talk about that. Yeah. But hey, it was easy money. He's a big guy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
That's
and
true.
he had the mouth too. Yeah, he could sell you anything.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
listen to him long enough.
Oh, Baldy. And
Yes.
we were talking about Lockhart earlier, you and Lockhart getting into it. I got a funny story. One year, Lockhart and Kevin Gogan got into it on the practice field, Valley Ranch. I don't know if you guys were. I don't think you were there when that happened, but he came up in the. Gogan played sometimes past the whistle because he'll admit he wasn't the best player out there, but he was going to show you he could play.
Right.
To the whistle
And
blow.
and so he hit Lockhart, and Lockhart swung at him, and Gogs kind of looked at him like, "Did you just do that?" And Lockhart said, "What are you going to do?" Man, Gogan went over there, grabbed him by his face mask, and ripped the face mask off his helmet. And everybody made fun of Lockhart because they called him Doak Walker after that because he walked around with no face mask. He was so mad. He said, "Gogan, you'll never play in another Hoopster trip." And Gogan said, "Man, F you, Lockhart, and the Hoopsters. I don't care. You're not going to come in here and try and take a swing at me and expect me not to hit you back."
Yeah.
But that was a funny story there. But there were some stories that I don't know how crazy it was when you guys were there, but man, some of those Hoopster trips. I mean, we actually. I'm not going to name any names, but we had a receiver pull a gun out on a linebacker one time because the linebacker disrespected the receiver. The receiver's pretty small.
Right.
And he disrespected him. And as soon as we pulled up to the practice field, that wide receiver ran out to his car and pulled out a big old 357 Magnum with a long barrel. And man, we're all in the bus. They had us like in a customized Winnebago. We're all hiding, because we're like, this guy really wanted that linebacker. He wanted to really shoot him. And finally, somebody calmed him down. I don't know who it was, but he calmed him down and said, "Man, just put the gun down. Just put it down, man. We don't need to do that. We don't." And then security came out from Valley Ranch. Of course, they had those cameras. They were watching the parking lot.
Right.
And that security guard actually carried a 6-shooter. And hell, he didn't even pull out his gun. He saw how big the receiver's gun was. He ran back inside. Y'all can handle y'all's own selves, you know. But we finally calmed him down, and we said, "Man, just put it in your car and leave." But there was some wild stories. I mean, we had another offensive lineman put his fist through somebody's windshield one time. And, of course, I was called out on the carpet, and they wanted to know what happened. And I didn't know whether to lose my memory and tell the coach, I don't know.
Right.
And then somebody come back and say, "Well, Paco knows. All you had to do is ask him." So I kind of had to tell him, what really happened. But there was some wild stories back then. I don't know if you guys had any people like that.
Well, no, I can tell you a little story that but every time I see Jim Jeffcoat, I remind him of this time we were in training camp, and
he was on this show not too long ago.
I forget this guy's name, but he was an offensive tackle, and he was about maybe 6'8", big old man. So, he just thought that he had the run of the lay,
Paz Derek?
No, it wasn't Paz Derek. I think he was from Germany or something. I can't think of his name. But anyway, he was one of those guys that try to intimidate you, with his size and all of that stuff. So we out at practice, and him and Jim got into it. And then they kind of, stopped it, and they broke it up. And then we go into the locker room.
Right.
And if you know Jim Jeffcoat, man, laid back.
Yeah, it's calm.
Don't mess with nobody.
Real quiet.
Yeah. If you are his friend, he'll take care of you. So he was that kind of guy.
Right.
So anyway, we're in the locker room, and I don't know what that boy said to Jim in the locker room. But do you remember that movie with Thomas Hearns on the little show, Martin show? when he was boxing and had all them knots on his head like that? Paco, if I'm lying right now, I tell you, Jim beat that joker so
Really?
bad, man, until I thought they were going to put Jim in jail.
Really? I
For
never knew
assault.
that. Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wow. I wish I had known that story because I would have asked Jim about it.
Yeah, I tease him about that all the time. He whooped that boy like it wasn't no tomorrow. Man.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know Jim's coaching now.
Yeah, he's
The
a good
XFL?
dude. man.
Yes.
Okay.
He's
And then you
good
got
dude.
Daryl Johnson as the general manager. And then you got, what's the Oklahoma's former, Bob Stoops is the head coach.
Okay.
For the same team?
Yeah, here in Dallas.
Wow.
You know where their season starts in February, and they're playing all their games in Globe Life Park, Texas,
Okay.
where the Rangers were
old
playing.
Rangers.
Okay.
That's kind of
That's
cool.
good.
I need to get with Jim. I'm gonna see if he can get some tickets for the former players, and I'll let you guys know.
Yeah,
That
man.
we're,
Yeah.
maybe get 10, 12 tickets and let you guys come out and see them and stuff. He'd like to see you guys. But Jim's still the same,
Yeah,
quiet.
man. But he's a killer.
If you push him
Yeah,
too
you
far,
cross him, though. You cross
Wow.
him, he'll hurt you. That's
Wow.
all I would say.
wow. And
Yeah.
let's real quick, we got about 9 minutes left, but let's talk a little bit about these Cowboys of today, man. I mean, when you guys played, it was always the toughest division, the East Division. I mean, if it wasn't the Cardinals, it was the Eagles, or the Cowboys. Who was the other team? There was one other team that was
It was
the
Cowboys, Cardinals, Redskins, Giants.
Well, Giants. Remember, we had 5 in that division. I mean, and everybody in that division won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. You know, and a lot of other divisions, not everyone has won a Super Bowl.
Right.
But man, I mean, what are your thoughts on the team of today? What the big difference in why do you think with so much talent and yet they're only an average 500 team?
I think the focus is not where it should be. And the team is very young. And so when you have a young team who has to kind of get that focus, it's very difficult with all of what is surrounding them. I mean, if you go to the Star, it's tours going on every day, and always something going on and something happening, and
Always, yes.
they get patted on the back if they're seen, and people tell them how great they are. Well, that makes you feel pretty good, but then you have a game to play,
Yeah.
and if you're not ready mentally to step it up and play at that high level, then the chances are you're going to struggle on game day. And I think that's what happens a lot. They do have the talent, but they just need to be a little bit more focused and determined to carry out the assignments in a way that is consistent with what everybody tells them during the week.
Right. How good they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Angelo, what is your
Well, I'm
thoughts on
from
it?
the other end of it. You know, Newsom is so philosophical, and then he's an offensive player too. So I'll let that get by. But anyway, you know, to be honest with you, I just think that they soft. If it was up to me, I would have it to where each player had to sign a waiver saying, "Hey, I understand the repercussions of leading with your head, hitting with your head, but I ain't worrying about that now. I'll worry about that when my career is over." Sign the waiver.
Right.
Let's get back to hitting. Speaking of offensive players, this boy that used to be here, Marcellus Bennett,
Yeah.
he said something that I never forgot. He said that the Cowboys need linebackers that eat a steak with their hands and not with a napkin and a fork.
Right.
See, but that's what we've been missing.
Right.
See, they take away the defense power. You know, you can't touch them. It never was a time where a little joker could be running around the field causing all the havoc in the world.
Chaos, yeah.
But you can't put your hands on them. You can't hit them. You can't put that fear in them. That you come across this Miller, you better have your head on a swivel.
Right. That's
now
right.
they come through there with their head. You know, they trying to lead with their head.
Right.
No. The game need to be played the way that it always had been played and was meant to be played.
Right.
Now, this is just my feelings.
Right. And that's come from a defensive side.
Yes.
I understand. I understand. I mean, definitely, I mean, the quarterbacks, you can't even touch them.
Yeah.
A lot of these penalties are very questionable, and I mean, I understand. They're saying you pay a quarterback $100 million, and somebody goes and takes a cheap shot or hits them too hard, or they weren't expecting the hit. Now you got that quarterback out for so many weeks, and it hurts the NFL. The NFL is talking; they want the money. They want you to be glued to the TV because of this star playing.
A lot of high scores too, man.
Yeah,
They like touchdowns. They like
They like that. Yes,
these receivers, dancing. Okay, as much as I didn't like Michael Irvin as a person,
right.
you cannot take away from Michael Irvin the football player.
Oh yeah.
Even with Terrell Owens, I'm saying, hey, if you don't like him, then stop him from getting in the end zone.
Yeah.
Don't be talking about it.
That's
Stop
right.
him.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
That's right. I mean, I agree. You guys eat very much meat? Timmy, you eat meat?
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Oh yeah.
You ever been to Rudolph's Meat Market?
I have not.
It's
have
over
not
in
either.
it's in Deep Ellum. I just want to tell you guys about it real quick. A friend of mine owns it, and they've been in business since 1895.
Lord knows.
Look how old that picture is, and they're right there on Elm Street. Man, the guy's a great guy. But if you guys ever go in there, you tell them that who you are and you play for the Cowboys, and that I was told that Paco told me I could come in here and you take care of me. Yeah, he'll take care of you. Really good guy. But I mean, they've got it's like the movie Rocky. He's got a big walk-in freezer and he's got sides of beef hanging everywhere. All kinds of meat. And they got the old-fashioned chopping blocks. They got all that. It's a real meat market.
Rudolph's.
Yeah, but it's right on Elm Street. You guys need to check it out sometime.
Okay.
But he's one of our sponsors. But we got about 4 minutes, guys. So, I mean, what's your prediction for tomorrow night? First of all, do y'all watch football?
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, who do you have tomorrow, Timmy?
It's going to be another tough game. They're playing outdoors, and it's going to be cold. But it's a contest that they have to win. I don't think failure is an option anymore.
It's do or die.
It's do or die. And so I think they'll come out and play very well. I think they're going to run the ball more than they did last weekend. And so if they do those things and minimize the errors, they should do pretty well. Chicago's confidence is not what it should be.
Yeah.
So I think Dallas can come away with the win this time.
Okay. Angelo?
In my heart, I want the Cowboys to win.
Right.
But if I'm betting my money, I'm going with the Bears. So I won't
You
tell
guys
you
are
whether
totally
I'm
opposite
betting or
on
not.
everything so far we've talked about.
Yeah, so
Everything
I won't
we've
tell you
talked
whether
about,
I'm betting or not, but my heart is always with them. But I try to figure out who I think has the best team and try to make the prediction of who's going to win.
Right.
So, again, if my money is being placed down, I'm going with the Bears. But if there ain't no money, of course, I'm hoping that the Cowboys do well.
Okay, one last question. Yes or no? Do you think Garrett's here next year?
Yes.
Do you think Garrett's here next year?
He shouldn't be.
So it would be a no.
No.
On this one, Timmy, I'm going to have to agree with Angelo. I'm going to have to agree with Angelo, man. I don't know. It's just, man, I'm a realist. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm a Cowboy fan, but I'm a realist. And, God, it just.
So, but what you're saying is if they don't go to the playoffs, then obviously you think he's going to not be here.
If he don't go to the NFC Championship.
Yes.
Right.
It's just more than one game, Tim.
Yeah.
They can make one game and get knocked out. That ain't going to save you.
Yeah.
One of the first comments from tonight was actually Garrett is a dead man walking.
There you go.
Yes.
Dead man walking.
Dead man
But
walking.
the odd thing is, if you want to call it odd, that they literally can make the playoffs and they can go very deep. They have that much talent to do it.
They have the talent.
And so when their back's up against the wall, they've been able to rise to that occasion. And I anticipate them doing it now.
But they still to date have not been able to beat a team with winning
Well,
record.
there's a first time for everything.
That's true too.
You know, there's a first time for everything. They've got Chicago, and then they've got the Rams to play, then they've got Philadelphia, and then they finish up with Washington. It's not an easy schedule, but it's doable.
But even if they win the 4, though, Timmy, you still got some teams out there, man. The 49ers.
I think 49ers, who they're predicting they will play. If they
even the Ravens, New Orleans, you know. I mean, these teams here, man, Kansas City, you know, I started out the year liking Kansas City, but then I looked at the defense, man, and it stunk.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go with them. So, you know, like I said, if the Cowboys do win all 4 of these last games, they'll lose in the first round of the playoff.
Well, that first round playoff game is going to be a home game, obviously, because they would have won their division.
Yeah.
And so after that, anything can happen. I mean, playoffs is a very strange environment.
Well, I'm glad you ended
I'm an
your career.
optimistic man.
Optimistic guy. Okay, well, we're gonna leave on that thought, guys. Definitely, I appreciate you guys coming out.
Yes, sir.
And we hopefully we can do some more things in the future. You know.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you for having us.
Yes,
Oh no,
same here,
thank
man.
you very much,
All right.
guys. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Thanks for watching.